Through experiencing death as a portal to immortality, he attained the divine status of a god in his own right, becoming the Lord of the Dead, with the auxiliary title of Dharmaraja, meaning the king of Dharma, or righteousness. Yama rules over the underworld realm of Yamaloka, where the souls of the dead rest and sometimes undergo penances for various karmic debts before once again taking birth. Yami became Lord Chamunda herself in the collection of tantric goddesses known as the Ashtamatrika, or the Eight Little Mothers. She is recognized as Lord Yama's consort. Yama personifies the function of Lord Shiva as the destroyer, and thus he is also identified as Mahakala Bhairava, the great terrifying force of time. And here is a carving of Mahakala upon this kapala, or skull bowl. Shiva's wrathful aspect. Likewise, Chamunda Kali is recognized as the wrathful form of Ma Parvati, who is Shiva's consort or Shakti. Bhairava and Chamunda, in this case known as Bhairavi, dwell upon the cremation ground, and they convey the souls of the dead upon their path toward the next life, and they will share their wisdom with those devotees who are willing to let go of their fears. Their direction on the wheel of the compass is the south, and here is Bhairab and Bhairavi. South of Kathmandu city is the temple of Dakshinkali, meaning Kali of the southern direction, a form of the Divine Mother who is both destructive and yet also very protective of her children. It is said that the Dakshinkali temple was built after the goddess Kali herself appeared in a dream of a Malla king, a ruler of the 14th century. In this dream, the goddess appeared to the king naked and with black skin. In her multiple heads, she held a trident, sword, shield, and a severed head of a demon. She crouched in a birth-giving position upon a corpse, the corpse of Lord Shiva, and her two remaining hands grasped a section of viscera taken from his abdomen upon which she was feeding. The goddess commanded the king to build a temple dedicated to her in a very unknown and strange place at the bottom of a valley. In return for building the temple, she said, his subjects would be protected from disease and misfortune. Soon after the king's dream, another person living in the area reported that he discovered a stone image of the goddess Kali in the same place where the goddess Kali commanded the king to build her temple. The image was then left open to the elements as she commanded, and over her head a gilded cover was erected, with 4 serpents supporting it. In addition, images of Lord Ganesha, the 8 Ashtamatrika goddesses carved in stone, and a stone image of Bhairava were placed in the inner sanctum with her image. As Yama's consort, Yami, or Dakshinkali, is called upon for protection from disease, misfortune, and death. On Tuesdays and Saturdays, Kali's holy days associated with Mars and Saturn respectively. Animals, especially cockerels and uncastrated male goats, are brought by devotees for sacrifice. They are slaughtered in the temple's inner courtyard by quick decapitation, and their meat cooked and shared during family celebrations such as weddings, success in business, or a child passing his or her grade 10 exams and becoming eligible for university. So I visited the Dakshinkali temple in 2010, and I was very lucky that day. A friend of mine came with me, and we met with the administration of the temple. And my friend explained to them that I was a temple priest living in the United States. My temple, that time called Chamunda Mandir, was dedicated to the goddess Kali. And they granted me access to the inner sanctum. And this was a privilege and something I feel very honored about to this day, because this is something that Westerners typically don't get to experience. But here's a photo I did snap that day. This is the camera's focused down into the inner sanctum, and I got to go down in there and pay my respects to the Divine Mother while the animal sacrifices were going on. This was on a Saturday. This is an image in the center of Dakshinkali. And she's wrapped in a number of votive cloths, so you really can't see her very closely. There's the image of Bhairab next to her, Lord, the wrathful Shiva, who's also wrapped in red cloth. But the image is pretty much identical to this other image that you can find in Kathmandu at the Tridevi temple. I'm going to read a couple more pages from my book and then go further into our lesson for today. I want to thank everybody for watching part 2 of this video. We had some technical issues involving the signal becoming unstable. So I picked up where the broadcast was cut off, and I'll be I'm recording this right now on my computer, and I'll be uploading it to YouTube as part 2 of this video. Dakshinkali is often pictured showing a balance between the benevolent and destructive sides of her personality, with both of her feet upon Lord Shiva and assuming a squatting, birth-giving posture. She is multi-armed, with 2 hands grasping the viscera torn from her consort's abdomen, which she is devouring. The coiled viscera represents the rising Kundalini Shakti through the central Sushumna channel of the spine, which facilitates yogic enlightenment. It also signifies the complete surrender of the devotee toward the divine. In most spiritual paths, the more dynamic polarities are viewed as masculine and the more receptive energies as feminine. In some tantric approaches involving goddess Kali, these roles are reversed. Kali takes the more dominant role and Shiva the more passive. The goddess represents the laws which govern the universe, called Purusha, while the god embodies the energy and matter under the influence of those laws. This is known as Prakriti. Ma Dakshinkali exists as the most wrathful of the wrathful, yet she provides enlightenment to those who can let go of their fears, especially the ultimate fear, the fear of death itself. In truth, we are all Lord Shiva, effectively dead, until we are touched by the energy of the divine Shakti, which enlivens us to our full potential. So I invite you to look at the center of the high altar, and this image of Ma Dakshinkali. This is actually an old temple carving made of stone, and I acquired this during my 2010 visit from an antique dealer located not too far from the Buddhist stupa of Swayambhunath. And so we see Lord Shiva below her feet. She's in her birth-giving posture. She is eating the viscera torn from his abdomen, and she is holding the trident. So the trident is the principles of birth, preservation, and death. Also the 3 main energy channels, Ida, Pingla, and Sushumna, and also the divine functions of Icha Shakti, the power of will, Jnana Shakti, the power of knowledge, and Kriya Shakti, the power of action. She has the same crown of 5 skulls that we see on other Nepalese forms of Kali. This shows a strong syncretism with Vajrayana Buddhism. Her pedestal is a lotus. She's holding the shield for the protection of her children and the head of a demon. And of course the very skeletal form of Ma Chamunda. So this will be the focus of tonight's ritual. So Dakshinkali, as I mentioned before, means Kali of the south, not to be confused with Dakshinakali, the benevolent form of Kali who leads with her right leg. The names sound very similar, but Dakshin means the south, and the south is also the direction of Lord Yama. And so this is Tibetan Buddhist Yama with Chamunda, or Yami, standing next to her. And I'm going to read another short excerpt from my book explaining this image. In Himalayan Buddhism, Yama is also called Vajrabhairava and is often pictured with the head of a buffalo. Buffalo is also his mount. The buffalo stands upon the corpse of a man. Yama holds both the Katvanga, which is a skull staff, kind of similar to this one here, and a coil of rope, which he uses to pull the soul from the body at the time of death. His penis is erect, and he is in a state of excitement, and he is accompanied by his consort Chamunda, who offers him a drink from her kapala, the offering cup made from the top of a human skull. Jai Ma Dakshinkali. Jai Ma Dakshinkali. Jai Ma Dakshinkali. So I want to show you a couple of other Dakshinkali images. This one was made by the same artist as one of the Bhadrakali images I showed you last week. And we see here that Dakshinkali, we see the intestine from Shiva going up to her mouth. She is squatting upon Shiva in the birth-giving position, and she is holding a kartika, or a flaying blade, which we very typically see in wrathful Tibetan goddesses like Tromanagmo. And this flaying blade, which is the kind of blade that would be used in sky burial, this represents the cutting away of attachments, those attachments which hold us back from realizing our true potential. She's also holding the small shield for protection, and notice her shield hand. The shield is actually pointing backwards, and her hand that's holding the shield is actually in Abhaya Mudra, the mudra of dispelling fear. And then she's holding the demon's head and a kapala, or skull cup, representing the transformation of consciousness. There's that skull cup there. And then I'll show you another bronze statue that I acquired just in this last year. This one even still has a votive cloth that was wrapped around her by a devotee. But we see the same kartika, the flaying blade, also known as a driguk, the sword for cutting away our ego attachments, the same 5-skull crown, the shield hand with Abhaya Mudra, the head of a demon. This particular one is also in a very Tibetan Buddhist form. We see her surrounded by an archway of flames, and this represents the force of transformation, and really transformation into enlightenment. So a very powerful form of the Divine Mother in Ma Dakshinkali, as I like to describe her, the wrathful of the wrathful. And she truly challenges us to face and overcome our fears. So the mantra for Dakshinkali that we'll be using is the third syllable of the Navarna mantra. Aing Reem, the third one is Klim. And Klim is a rather interesting mantra. It is a Bij mantra for Kali, but so much more as well. So Klim is also associated with Kama, the god of love. Kama is really the Hindu equivalent to Cupid. Klim can also be a Bij mantra for Lord Krishna, especially the young lover form of Krishna, a young cowherd or Gopala, who we see with Radha here. And Klim is also a Bij mantra for Tripura Sundari, one of the 10 Mahavidya goddesses. I'll try and hold that up in such a way we don't have the glare. So this is the Divine Mother. This is really Kali in the form of a 16-year-old girl. And we see Shiva looking up at her very lovingly. And so Klim is associated with the power of the divine to seduce us, to bring our attention seductively toward the Dharma. And so in our puja and our meditation, we'll be chanting the mantra Klim. And so let's go ahead and